On this episode of Retro Car Guy 530, I'm going to replace the cabin air filter in this 2006 Toyota Highlander Hybrid. This should apply to 2000 to 2007 Toyota Highlanders. It's been about 9 months since I last replaced the cabin air filter in my 2006 Toyota Highlander Hybrid, so it's definitely time for me to at least check it, and I definitely found a dirty one in there. So I've gone ahead and replaced that. I'm going to show you a couple of different approaches to this. There's a slightly extended version that I'm using today to help me film the cabin air filter replacement, which is just removing the pins at the bottom of the glove box door and the hinges. That allows me to pull the door out of the way. So that might be an approach that you might want to take a look at. And there's a short approach where you leave those pins in place, simply pushing on the sides of the door to get the two pins that hold the door up. You know, when you first open the door, it comes in rest. There are two pins on the side that hold that in place. You simply squeeze in on the door and pull it down. But that does restrict the access to the cover over the cabin air filter just a little bit. So for filming purposes, I decided to take the pins out on the bottom, and you may choose to do so at just a couple extra seconds on pulling the pins out and putting them back in, although I did fumble a little bit with the pins putting them back in. But you can decide after you take a look at the video. I'll have a link, or at least a part number information for the cabin air filter that I've been using. I've been using this for the last probably 5 or 8 years, somewhere in that range. I've been using this aftermarket filter. It works just fine. And if it's down in the description section and it's labeled as an affiliate link, it will earn me a commission if you purchase through that particular link, but at no extra cost to you. And it's a great way to support the channel. And hopefully, if you find that this video is informational for you or entertaining in some way, because you'll see some outtakes at the end, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. So let's get into the vehicle. I'll have two views, one where I show the glove box view from the passenger seat, and then I'll have a floor view where I'm looking up, where I'm pulling out those extra pins. So let's get into it. So typically you'll want to open your glove box here, and there are two pins on the side of the glove box that are used to disengage it. But right now, actually the first thing I'm going to do is on the bottom. We'll look at the bottom view here. And on the bottom here, there are two plastic pins on the hinges that can be pushed out towards the center. And if I can feel for those two. So they can be popped out pretty easily with a flat blade screwdriver. So I'm going to get a larger one here. You can see, if I can, there's a compression end on this end and there's a flat end. So you want to compress a little bit on this far end on the outside edge. And that should push the pin in towards the middle. And the pin should come out. A little wiggling. And then there's that pin. Again, try to find it by feel here. Okay, that should release the bottom two hinges for the glove box. And then we're going to open the door. We're still going to disengage the two side pieces here to get it out, but we should be able to remove the entire door at this point. Although there is a cable that is holding it up here so that the door doesn't flop open. So I'm going to leave that engaged at this point. But at least for the purposes of replacing the cabin air filter, we can see the fact that the door has been exposed a lot more easily to gain access to it. Plus it's easier to film for my own purposes today. And we can see that this is the blower motor assembly here, and we have the cover here for the cabin air filter. It does have a marking of up, and you want to basically just push a little bit on the corners here to disengage the tabs. And notice that there are 4 plastic tabs, so you don't want to get too aggressive with these, but they come out pretty easily. And then we have here the plastic holder for the cabin air filter. It is noted with an up as well. So pull this out gently because there may be a lot of debris sitting in here. So be careful of any leaves or twigs or anything that might still be in here. And if you drop any in there, you might want to take a vacuum cleaner nozzle to go in there and pull that out. And as we can see, this has been about a year since I've replaced it, and there's a good amount of dirt and other small portions of leaves here. So I'm going to disengage the filter. You could take this out of the vehicle to make it a little bit cleaner from that standpoint if you want to make sure this doesn't drop in the vehicle. But since I'm filming, I'm going to do it right here in the vehicle. And notice the fins are facing upward here. So again, the dirty filter we're going to take out. We have the replacement filter, the same with the fins facing upward. I believe the OEM filter, which this is aftermarket, will have a note on it for airflow to be going down through it, because there's no way for the fins to be placed downward because they'll hit the mesh here on the plastic holder. So you want to take the filter, insert it into the carriage. If there's any excess debris in here, you might want to clear that out. So let's get the four corners engaged here. And there are little tabs that edge snap into here. You can see so there's little tabs that the edge of the filter fits into here on both ends, and it's under that. So again, we're looking in here. I don't see any debris or anything in here, so I'm okay. But again, you may want to clean out your particular one with a vacuum cleaner. In a very bad situation, if there's a lot of debris, you may want to remove the blower motor and clean it out from that bottom end. But hopefully that's not the case. In most cases, it shouldn't be, most cases. So let's go ahead. Again, we have the up in the up direction. We're going to simply reinstall this. And it's in the fully inserted position. And it's behind the edge here as it should be. And we're going to then take our up cover, which I have here. So again, we have the four tabs, and notice the wider tabs are on the bottom. So this is the bottom, and that should also be noted with the up as well. So you simply want to engage the tabs. I usually do the top first, push up a little bit, and it snaps into place, and that foam acts as the sealant here. So that's in place. Now we're going to gently reinsert our glove box here. Get those edges. Get it latched, and then that will hold the weight of it while I get the pins reinserted. And then from the bottom side, we're going to reinsert the plastic pins. You may have to move the bottom just a little bit. And they should pretty easily snap into place again. I've done this before and it's been pretty easy. Okay, that's snapped in, and the edge is beyond, the little flared end is beyond the edge here and act as the lock for that pin. And we'll do the same again with the flare fitting out, push or set to the center of the vehicle, and this one basically the outside edges of the glove box. There we go. Just didn't have it aligned quite correct. So there, that little cable release mechanism is working, so it doesn't flop down. We have the two pins already because I was able to angle it to get it inserted, and so that's back in place. So in theory, we're done. But the shorter approach to this is simply open the glove box, and then you press in on the two sides. That will angle down the glove box, and then you can see, hopefully, if we get a little more light here, the cover that's back there. So you can do this without removing the glove box door itself, but I find it just a hair easier, although it did take me a second or so to get that second pin back in, but I like to have it where the door is out. But in this case, if you bring it down like this, you need to then compress the sides of the door again to let the stops go into their natural position, and you're done. That's all it takes to replace the cabin air filter in a 2000 to 2007 Toyota Highlander. Again, this is a 2006 Toyota Highlander hybrid, but again, they should all be basically the same process. Please make sure the part number that I put down in the description section applies to your particular vehicle, but I believe it should if it's one of those particular model years for the Toyota Highlander. And like I said, this is a nasty looking filter and you should check it every 6 months or so. And if it needs replacement, go ahead and replace it. Service departments will charge $40 to $60 to replace these things. I don't know how they come up with that because the amount of time that takes is at most 10 minutes of their time. And even at high shop rates here in California, it just doesn't get justified in my particular opinion. So it's a high profit margin for them. So save a little money on your end and go ahead and perform this task. As long as you have no problem kneeling down on the side of the vehicle and then gaining access to the glove box area like I was showing you in the video. This is something that can easily be done by the owner of the vehicle and at a very inexpensive price. So hopefully you learned something from it. If you did, again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. See you in the next one. Well, as you can see, the replacement 3, the car goes by. Yippee-ki-yay. On this episode of Retro Car Guy 530, we're going to replace the cabin air filter. As you can see, this is the dirty one that came out of my 2006 Toyota. It's been about a year since I've replaced the cabin air filter in my 2006 Toyota. They all use the same, it's the same body style, same HVAC. Darn. HVAC. It's been about a year since I last replaced I can't talk today.